Hello, everybody out there in Twitch land. It's your boy Carlos A.S. Lysing again. I'm DM of the first Betrayal campaign set in the World of Greyhawk. For those of you who have been following us, welcome back. For those of you who are tuning in for the first time, thanks for showing up. I'd like to introduce my player today. This is Jeremy Brazil, who will be playing Rainmar. Jeremy, what's up, buddy? How you doing?
What's up, man? I'm living the dream.
That's right. If you can look around the screen right now, everybody that is not present, you'll notice that Jeremy is my only player today from my normal four. Uh, that's because tonight is a makeup session. Jeremy has been away on business for the last few weeks, and as a result, he's a little bit behind in our game right now. So I'm catching him up with the rest of the players. Just like I did last week with David Aho. So, for those of you who are interested in seeing how a solo session is played, or those of you who don't do a whole lot of solo gaming, you're going to get a chance once again this week to see how the dynamic works. I think it's a really cool dynamic, and actually, in a lot of ways, I prefer solo gaming to unmask gaming because it's a little bit more personal, and you get a little bit more of a chance to do character development on. You get more attention on one character rather than having to spread things a little bit more thinly. But before I did that, I wanted to take care of some business. As you guys know, this is convention season, the tail end of it in America for gaming. Uh, I'm going to be making a couple appearances across America right now. In about 2 weeks, I'm going to, actually about 3 weeks, I'll be doing GrogCon in Kissimmee, Florida, and that is near Orlando. The gentlemen that run GrogCon, my buddies Dan Gramansky and James, they are they're the brains and the brawn behind GrogCon, and they've invited me to be a guest of honor down there. I'm the one who created the module that will be the official tournament module there. It's called the Porcelain Sword of Queen Ashala. I don't think that there's a problem with me revealing a little bit about that because we're going to promo it tomorrow on Jay Scott's show a little bit, but it's set in the Beclunish West of the World of Greyhawk. It's the first Beclunish module I've done over there. I have a tendency to write things from the eye of the Seul, and I thought it would be really cool if I did their adversaries during the big war before the game. After that, I'll be doing um, Gamehole Con, which is in Madison, Wisconsin. That's on Halloween and a couple days afterwards. And after that, I'm going to be doing GaryCon in March. Now, Jeremy is being my best friend and being one of my ace players over here. He actually has been doing a lot of shows with me lately. He's going to be doing Jeremy. What shows are you going to be doing here in the immediate future?
Game Hole.
Okay.
That one's on the map, and
Uh-huh.
then Gary Con is that's essential. I mean, you
Right.
can't miss.
Absolutely. Could you could you tell me a little bit about what I know you're the first time over at Gamehole, so you really don't have anything to say about that one, but could you tell me a little bit about your thoughts about the vibe of GaryCon? How you felt about that show?
I think Gary Con was an interesting situation. You had a combination of players who were equal parts laid back and yet really skilled players.
Yeah.
And I don't think I was prepared for that. I've never been in a group of that many ace players before who
Right.
really knew the game. Um,
I would agree with you. I was when I run games there, I'm always startled by how many expert level players I
yeah,
are in that game, and a lot of people have often remarked about my modules about how difficult some of them are. Uh, that's because a lot of them are geared towards these expert level players that I see at GaryCon. You got to challenge these guys.
exactly. If the modules weren't nightmare scenarios, they would walk through them. I mean that.
Now, Jeremy, last year you got a chance to play in the module that our Patreon is going to be releasing next month, which is going to be the Witch Queen. When comes the Witching Hour? You
Uh
played a bard in that game, and game was extremely challenging. If you remember that whole that encounter with the Merilith that almost destroyed everybody in the hallway with the blade barrier spell. Could you tell me a little bit about what you thought about playing in that game and playing a bard in particular?
You know, I had well, first of all, I went to Gary Con with sort of the idea that I would challenge myself to play stuff that I hadn't,
Right.
you know, I wanted to get out of my comfort zone a little bit. I saw some of the best players were sort of just playing whatever. They could play whatever. They had that level of skill. So I wanted to challenge myself. I thought playing a bard, especially relatively high level bard. Um, First of all, legend lore is an incredible skill to play.
Right.
And second of all, the versatility was far and away better than other characters I've played.
The bard's ability to do legend lore is probably the most unsung ability, maybe one of the more unsung abilities in the game, and yet it is possibly one of the most flexible and most powerful abilities in the game, especially
Yeah,
when you realize that there's no limit per usage on
yeah,
that. I mean, you could literally you could go onto a beach somewhere and pick up every grain of sand and legend lore it,
yeah.
literally. So it's
In
a
that way, it's one of those deals where it, a lot of times in gaming we think of a high powered weapon or a spell or something, but really knowledge is power.
it is. It truly is, especially in a campaign setting, where you're not really sure what you're getting into in some certain situations and things
For
like
sure.
that. You having the ability to know what's coming or have
Yeah.
insight to the plot, the meta plot it's potentially devastating.
Oh, dude, a level zero commoner could be dangerous with the right information.
Now,
That's
you in particular, your particular bard. I don't know if I've ever shared this with you before, but when I played in Alan Growe's game, Alan, dear friend of mine, he ran a game in Castle Greyhawk at GaryCon, and I
okay.
noticed that he gave one of the player characters a luck blade in there, which had one wish in it,
Right.
and I thought to myself, wow, that is really ballsy as a
Yeah.
DM to give a player a wish in a game, especially in a campaign game. I thought to myself, you know what? Let's give this a go. I'd like to see how this actually goes in my own game. And
Sure.
just as kind of a thought experiment. You were the guy that ended up with the luck blade and the wish.
Yeah.
How'd you feel about that? And how'd you feel about actually the ability to have that in your back pocket the whole time?
Well, so when I first looked at the sheet, it was one of the first things I noticed, and
Right,
I thought to myself, well, if I really play this character well, I shouldn't need to use the wish.
right, right.
Um, Unfortunately, as a collective, we got ourselves into a tight situation. We needed to use the wish to get out to be
Yeah,
successful, but
yeah.
um,
You were with the Stargazer scenario was so brutal.
yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
exactly. Um, but yeah, I thought I shouldn't use it. That was my first thought. It was kind of shelved until things went so awry that I said, well, okay, I guess we have to do this now. But
Right, exactly.
yeah,
I thought well, in the end, it's probably what saved you guys' bacon.
I
Much
think it
like in the
was.
game that I played in Alan's game, it saved our bacon there too, actually. We
Sure.
ended up in a situation where we had absolutely no idea what the path forward was, and the guy with the luck blade says, "Hey, I'm wishing us to this particular location," which is almost identical to how you used it.
Sure. Yeah.
So it worked out really well for you.
Yeah,
Um,
we were kind of equal parts trying to get out of what we were in and to what we needed to go to. So it
oh
was
yeah, I think your group realized relatively quickly that you were in over your heads.
well, and I think that's part and parcel to high level play.
It is.
I mean,
It is.
you know,
One of the things about high level play that is simultaneously cool but terrifying is it's great to have all these amazing powers, but then you realize that so does everybody else.
right.
And a lot of these amazing powers circumvent game rules, and they change the way that that the game actually operates, like a wish spell does, or
Sure.
teleport, or things like that. They change the way that the dynamic of the game a lot. But it's really three dimensional when everybody has a little bit of that, and you really have to account for so many possibilities.
Sure.
In a sense, low level play is so much more straightforward. You're not it's the whole paralysis by analysis thing. You're not so paralyzed by
Absolutely.
all the possibilities.
Absolutely. You get a long enough spell list and you get in a rough scenario and you can spend forever just trying to figure out which spell to,
Oh, exactly what fits. And then there's the whole idea of what do I need to save? What do I need to, you start
Well,
thinking about conservation of abilities.
that was something that, so, I mean, you know me well enough to know I try really hard not to metagame.
Right, right.
And in that game, I trying not to metagame, I played the character as if I was going to continue to play the character rather than just playing. So I wouldn't, it's like you wouldn't use that wish in the
Right.
first 3 hours of play if you knew it was an ongoing campaign.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's a lot like this. When one of the things I like to do with my fans of Castle Entertainment Materials will notice a trend in my pre-generated characters in the back of them. There's a lot of potions, a lot of scrolls being used
Sure,
because they're one-hit abilities, basically. They're
sure, sure, sure.
disposable. If you were in a campaign, the chances of you burning through 6 potions in a campaign in one adventure would be very slim because you'd realize you'd be playing the character ongoing.
You would
Conservation of
never do
abilities is
that.
important. In a convention scenario, you're thinking to yourself, you know what? I'm emptying the tank. You played it a
Well,
little bit more like it was a campaign game, which to your credit was really cool.
yeah, I think you do that. You do that in campaign scenarios with your spell usage, for example.
Hmm.
So if I would try to use my spells metagaming, I would try to use all my spells in each campaign game because I know that I need to be utilizing my magic,
Right.
to level up. But at the same time, and I want to go back just briefly to the notion of competitive play. So at GaryCon was, like I said, there was laid back dudes, they were high level players. However, part and parcel to that setting is the competitive play.
Oh yeah.
So I saw in the top secret game and in the Marquesa game last year,
Hmm.
earlier this year rather, some of the most insanely competitive role playing. I
Oh,
mean,
absolutely.
there's so much metagaming going on and group strategy to try to figure out, because everybody's on the clock. Everybody, like the top secret game. I mean, we have what, 3 hours
Right.
to put. You got a 3 hour. You hit the stopwatch, and everybody's playing their hearts out. That doesn't encourage campaign play.
No, it doesn't. It really doesn't.
Yeah.
Um, but you're right. There's a certain competitive nature to it, and but I in that particular game, sometimes I find it hinders the experience. But in those particular games you brought out, I thought it brought out the best in the players.
Oh, I think it absolutely did, and in both of those games in different ways. I think in the top secret game, you had a group of people that we didn't all know each other very well,
Hmm.
and the competitiveness of it raised the communication.
Right.
So you had this nice integration. In Marquesa, frankly, the whole room was just sweating
Oh,
bullets.
I
I
know.
mean,
The
I,
tension there was so thick. It was
oh, dude,
unbelievable. Especially like when the Pallid Maiden showed up. Oh my
yeah,
God. Did you? I mean, I'll never forget the look on Nick Villanueva's face when she showed up, and that was
for
his
sure,
nemesis character. He's like, "Oh
yeah,
my God, here she is," and
yeah.
it was so rewarding for me as a DM because he never even played the character before, and he recognized the gravity of the moment. And I thought that was so cool.
I think the tension in those games just got ratcheted up anyway because you had three modules in a row
Hmm.
where you just couldn't kill her,
Oh, I
and then
know.
and then you have these backstories where she's just doing vile shit. Then you have these competitive players, and then you only have 3 hours to beat it.
Right.
I mean, it's just like, yeah. In
A
some ways, it's so stressful that it's not fun, and yet when it's over, everybody's,
Right,
you know,
exactly. One as a little sneak peek for you, Jeremy. Um, at GaryCon this year is the I've already done the prelims for the modules, and
okay.
the sequel to the Marquesa game is one of them. I'm not going to tell you how it fits in yet, but there is a sequel.
Well, you know how I envision the aftermath of that Marquesa
I
thing.
do know how you envision the aftermath.
I'm playing macro strategy from now on with this. I seriously.
Well, now you know. Now you realize why high-level Magic users are simultaneously beloved and hated. They're beloved by their players, but boy, they're impossible to kill sometimes, especially when you
Sure.
have abilities like Contingency, Dimension Door in place, things like that. I mean, Dimension Door is a one-segment spell. I mean, you can get it off like that.
Sure.
So basically, whenever you get in trouble, there it goes. You have a spell like Project Image where you could be somewhere totally else and still cast spells through your illusion at people. So
That's horrific.
there's no real way to guess that it's a projectile image.
Right.
Or then you have stuff like Contingency, like, okay, if I'm ever brought below 50% of my hit points, I immediately teleport without error to X location. Well,
Right.
if that's the case, okay, and my hit points are, because Marquesa is a fighter magic user, she'll probably have 80 hit points. So you have to hit her with over 40 hit points in one round in
Right.
order to get her contingent to kill her without her contingency to activate.
Right.
Well, guess what? When she's got a -6 armor class, doing that is you can see the difficulty.
It's not good. Yeah.
Yeah,
Not
it's tough. It's real tough, especially if she's made you friggin' expend many of your best abilities just getting to her.
Well, that's the real challenge right there. Is you got a group of people who are burning all their potions, all their spells, everything,
It's
just
attrition.
to get her to teleport away.
Oh God, it's so bad. It's so bad. One of the players that actually the player that saw her that was in the room, the ranger that was in the room at Gary Con 10 and
Yeah.
watched her teleport away from her
Yep.
desk will be at GrogCon playing in Queen of Shala. I can't wait to revisit that moment with him. I thought that was a pretty cool moment when he just kind of was facing off with her. I watched her teleport away.
Yeah.
She just kind of sneered at him. It was like, not
Yeah.
this time.
You got the wrong girl. Yeah.
Okay, well, just very quickly before we start again, I did want to hit GrogCon, Gary, Gamehole Con. There's so many G cons right now.
Sure.
Um, you're going to be at Gamehole, which has a little bit different of a vibe. It's not as much of an old school vibe as Gary Con. It's got a lot of 5e players.
Okay.
At the same time, it's got kind of a modern feel to it, yet around the tables that you're at, there's still a lot of old school players. So it's got kind of a hybrid feel to it. I mean, you've got things going on like True Dungeon, which is a LARP, and you have things like there's an entire room dedicated to 5e competitive play. Um,
Okay.
so there's a lot that's going on at Gamehole. It's a really cool show. Alex Kammer puts on a great convention up there. So um, Anna Meyer will be there. Our dear friend Anna Meyer will be there. So anybody who wants to go check out Anna's work, I don't know if she's tuning in tonight, but if she is, I can't wait to see you up there, Anna. Um, she'll be there at the show. Hopefully, we'll get to run into each other. It'll be real. I expect it to be a really cool show, and a couple of our other players, David Aho and Patrick Hope, will also be at that show. I am trying to get a way for us to broadcast live a game from that show. Stay tuned. We'll see if that can happen or not. Um, and the last thing I want to say before we actually begin our game is I want to talk about our game schedule. Tomorrow we will also be gaming. Jeremy will be here with the rest of the crew. We'll have the whole party here for the first time since session 4, which will be awesome. And then on Sunday, I will be live on Jay Scott, Lord Gasumba's channel. And I will be there with a bunch of the other Greyhawk intelligentsia, and we'll be discussing different topics about the world of Greyhawk. I've been told to come up with a question for the panel. I don't know what that will be yet, but I'm sure that I'll come up with something interesting one way or another. Something that's suitably unanswerable, like what the purposes of the optics were in Castle Mauer or something like that. Something bizarre like that. But anywho, um, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna begin our game right now. Jeremy, are you ready?
I am. I was checking the Twitch live feed. Hold on. Yes, I'm ready. Hold
Awesome.
on.
Okay, Jeremy. Last time checked in with you with Rainmar. Things had gone really south for you guys up in the Mercenary Inn in Kevrick's Cove.
Yes.
You had opened the door. There had been a big fight in there. A fire had broken out, and Herrick had been hit in the chest with an axe.
Right.
He was in the midst of dying on the bed, and everybody was trying to stabilize his condition, hoping that a miracle would basically happen. Well, you were in the middle of having all this happen. Uh, your dog, your wolf dog was in the room with you, as you remember. It was you. It was Agrias, Brixton. It was Solveig. No, excuse me, Solveig was not there. It was Elin was there, and so was Herrick, obviously laying there in the middle of the floor. Agrias was asking Elin if she could heal him, and she had mentioned that she was a druid, unfortunately not a cleric, because she didn't have that spell, Cure Light Wounds, at first level. So she was doing everything she could to stabilize his condition. Rainmar. As that is all happening, your wolf started pacing back and forth. Your wolf dog started pacing back and forth, which was normal. There's a lot of tension in the air. But all of a sudden, in the midst of everything, he stiffens up, barks twice, and bolts from the room. Everybody in the room is focused on Herrick. Everybody is freaking out right now. There's a lot of tension in the air right now. The wolf dog actually bolts out of the room. He looks like he's following something. What would you be doing at this point in time?
So this is all post the door was rigged, or the door exploded, or
Yep.
something like that,
Mm-hmm.
and then there was Brixton set the whole thing on fire, and then
Brixton set the whole thing on fire. You were firing arrows. Agrias was firing arrows in there.
yeah.
Then you actually, Agrias actually, no, you actually went in there and you shanked a couple people.
That's right, because I was cleaning the bodies out.
Exactly.
Okay, so if she just bolts out of the room down the hallway.
Bolts out of the room down the hallway, and you can hear like claws on the stairs, on the wooden stairs going down.
Um,
Sounds like she has a
okay.
hard time turning the corner on the slippery surface, hits the wall, and kind of keeps running downstairs.
Do I get the sense that she's in pursuit of something?
Yes, you do think she's in pursuit of something. She's following something for sure.
I would follow her for sure.
Okay. Aline kind of looks up at you and for a second, like, but she can't really do anything about it. She's working on Herrick, and she runs out. As you are running out after the wolf dog down the stairs, and the wolf dog is actually leaving straight out of the building, you hear a commotion at the front desk. The front desk, the guy at the front desk is asking, is in conversation with one of the dwarves, Merrick in particular, and they're talking about the fire upstairs. Going to continue to follow the wolf dog, just go right past him?
For sure.
Okay. You walk out the door, and as soon as you walk out the door, you are someplace else. Right away, you realize that you're not in Caverick's Cove anymore.
Okay.
What you see around you is a dense forest all over the place. It's summer night. It's warmer than it should be. It's humid. There's fireflies everywhere, twinkling around you everywhere. You hear sounds of toads. You hear water running in the distance. The tree canopy overhead is so dense that you can't see the moons. It's very dark, but your infravision allows you to see your wolf has stopped about maybe 10 feet in front of you, seeing the same thing, and is just looking around, surprised.
She's no longer in pursuit of something?
No, it looks like she stopped and she's in the same boat you are, and is just shocked at what she's seeing.
And the forest is dense enough. I can't really get a feel for where I might be.
No, however, I'd like you to I'd like you to roll a 20-sider for me.
I need to grab my dice. Hold on one second.
That's fine, buddy. This is the third show that we've had in which we've had a minor dice malfunction. Uh, I remember when I was running the game for the ladies the other day on Sirens of Greyhawk that everybody forgot to bring their dice, and I was rolling a lot of dice for them. So this is not new territory.
Yeah, I clearly haven't been carrying dice the
Oh,
last month
that's
or
cool,
so.
buddy.
Okay.
That's cool.
D20.
Yep, D20, please.
That's an 18.
Okay. What you do realize is having your background that you do, and having your being half elvish as you are, you do realize that the area that you're in is not consistent with Raddick. The soil it's too loose. It's too rich. You're not in Raddick.
Okay. And you said it's dusk?
No, I said it's night.
It's night.
It's
Okay.
night.
So, any kind of trail I can make out, any pathway?
Yeah, actually, the trees. You are actually on a path, and it kind of winds through. It's not really. It looks like it's a worn path that from foot traffic, but it's not actually blazed at all. It's not like someone has actually cut down trees to make it. It's kind of winding through trees.
And when I came out of the door of the inn, I was facing a particular direction on this path.
Yeah, you're facing straight south. Now you actually turn over your shoulder, and the door to the inn is gone. All you see is forest behind you.
Okay. Well, first of all, I'm going to draw my bow.
Okay, you draw your bow.
And then tell her to come and stay by me.
Okay, the wolf turns around and kind of walks over and sits at your heel.
And I'm going to just make my way down this path in the direction that I started facing it.
Now, Jeremy, if you remember correctly, before the game, at the end of the last game, there was a speak with animals spell that was cast upon you at that point in time. That is still active for another couple hours.
Okay.
So you can actually communicate directly with the wolf at this point.
I'm going to just ask her what she was chasing.
There was there was something in the room. I thought it was a butterfly, but it was glowing really brightly, and then it came towards you, and I barked twice to try and scare it away, and it flew off. So I started chasing it. I didn't want it to hurt you.
You thought it had the intent to hurt me?
I thought it might. I didn't know. I just didn't. I didn't know what to do.
Okay, let's go down this trail a little ways.
It starts okay, you start walking down the trail. Should I go ahead or should I stay at your heel?
How about you stay close?
Okay. So Wolf's kind of just loping over at your sides, sniffing at the air a little bit. I think I smell the butterflies again.
Which direction?
All over. It's looking around. It's looking at the fireflies that are blinking.
Okay. How many can I? How many of these fireflies are there?
You're looking around. Hundreds probably.
And at closer inspection, they are fireflies.
You haven't gotten close enough to inspect one, but okay. Your infravision is at the point where when you start paying attention to them, the glow that they're radiating is a heatless glow like a firefly, but the body has way more heat than a firefly.
Okay. Okay, so I asked her if that is in fact what she was chasing. Is it?
She nods. She kind of looks around. She's like, I can't tell which one it was, but it was one of them.
Okay. In these firefly things, they're congregated in this area.
Yeah, it looks like you're kind of they're all in the woods, kind of blinking around, and they're kind of flying, meandering around. They don't seem to want to come too close to you, though.
Are there more where I am now than down the path, or they're kind of equally spread out?
They're all equally spread out. As you're
Okay.
continuing down the path, though, you start to see light ahead of you, probably about maybe 100 yards distance. It's a firelight of some kind.
I'll pursue that, but I want to stay kind of out of sight.
Okay, it is the light that you're seeing. It does not register on your infravision. It's a heatless light, and it's kind of glowing greenish.
Okay. Uh,
Having hung out with a druid before,
Foxfire.
fairy fire, yeah.
Okay.
You're guessing fairy fire.
Okay. Uh, let me just move forward a little bit, see if I can get a look at what's if
Okay, the wolf,
anybody's down.
you got to get a little forward. Your wolf kind of crouches low too at your side. What you see is it's opening up into like a clearing, and you hear voices in the clearing. You hear soft music playing. You think you see what looks like a tent, maybe like a big pavilion type tent, almost like a traveling circus. You think
What language?
you're listening to it. Make me a 20-sider.
18.
You pick out Elvish? No, something derivative of Elvish. Hard to tell. Hard to tell. You don't know the language, but it's something derivative of Elvish, or maybe Elvish is derivative of it. It's hard to tell.
Okay. So, can I approach the tent from the back side of it?
Yeah, you could try and circle around.
Yeah.
Okay, you start to circle around, walk around in the back through it. Make me another 20 for your for how quiet you're being.
18.
Oh,
And
nice.
this
That's
die
it.
must be loaded.
Yeah,
Because
that's loaded for 18s, but at least it's not loaded for 8s.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's 3 in a row.
I know. I know. So you're creeping around through the woods. One of these fireflies buzzes pretty close to you at one point in time. And you notice as it gets closer to you, it's not glowing like a yellowish like a firefly. This one's glowing bluish, all right? And then it kind of shifts to a pink and then to a yellow. It is actually about an inch tall, winged human looking character that is wielding a bow and has leather armor and just zips past you so fast you can't really see whatever. That wasn't him.
Yeah.
Your wolf says.
Yeah, right. I'm gonna quiver my arrow and put my bow back.
Okay. Put your bow back.
And I'm gonna continue to move toward the tent.
Start to move towards the tent. Are you going to actually break into the clearing now?
Yeah.
Okay, now you're behind the tent, all right? You hear voices in front of the tent. Probably you're guessing maybe 10 to 15 different voices. There's 3 or 4 different musical instruments being played. You hear the crackling of fire in the midst of the clearing. Female, male voices. Again, that pigeon, weird, elvish discussion.
Okay.
You hear the words in Elvish: coming, him, laughter, angry. You pick out those words.
I take my guitar off of my back.
Okay.
And I attempt to start playing with them as I approach.
You start approaching. Make me a 20-sider, please.
If it's 18, we're never getting rid of this guy. 7.
Okay, good. No, that's the time you wanted to roll low. You start playing low. You start playing along with the music, and since you really don't know the song, it's pretty much rhythm, but you're actually playing along with it. It's pretty. You feel like you're doing pretty well, and then you hear a voice in Elvish. Peace, brothers and sisters. He's here. Voices all become quiet, but the music continues to play. You hear a female voice. Come forth, wild light. I would have words with you.
I don't stop playing, but I as I'm bade, I go forward.
Okay, you come around the side of the pavilion. And what you see is this. You see gathered around a fire. There's a massive pile of logs and a roaring greenish foxfire that doesn't consume any of the logs. The pavilion tent is striped red and white. It's got a very high arched kind of curved points, beautiful tent. It's got little filigree on it, but around the fire are several different kinds of fae. There's creatures that look like they're halflings, but they've got these short these pointed brownish kind of caps on. There's a beautiful woman wearing a diaphanous gown that got beautiful resplendent monarch butterfly wings that's there. Sitting next to her is playing a lyre is a gentleman that's there, shirtless, with the legs of kind of like a goat, cloven hoofs that's there. They're all sitting on logs around them. But they're all centralized around one character that looks like a very tall, slender, elvish woman. She's got long, almost whitish hair. She looks like maybe she's in her 30s, but she has this very timeless look to her. And she regards you with these piercing violet eyes, and she looks over at you and she says, "Please come, take a seat. Everyone, I would like to introduce you to the wild light." Some nods and some murmurs. You hear someone call out the gentleman with the goat legs. "Greetings, wild light. Hail." Some of the other ones, some of the other butterfly-looking things that you thought were fireflies zip around. They almost make a halo around you for a second and zip away. And you hear, as they make that little halo around your head zipping around, you hear this murmur of voices, like 20 voices all of a sudden. "Greetings, wild light." And they take off before they. "Please sit. You play very well."
Just learning.
"I sense greatness in you. One day." I've heard tale told that that you are entertaining in the settlement. That everyone seems to speak very highly of
I think maybe I just got lucky.
you. Perhaps not. She looks over at you. "Would you like some food? Would you like some drink? We have wine. We have fruits. We have nuts."
Please.
"Come." She looks over at, and one of the woman with the butterfly wings comes over. She has a silver carafe in her hands, and she looks over at you and she says, "Would you like water or wine?"
Wine, please.
She tips over the carafe into this glass, and as it hits the glass, it turns into a bluish substance and starts to rise up into this silver flute of glass that she hands you. One of the other characters, two of them come up, the halfling-looking things, and they're both holding this cornucopia. They put it next to your side. It's full of all kinds of fresh fruit. You see berries and nuts in it. She says, "My name is Shala." She goes, "It's my pleasure to finally meet you."
Finally.
"Indeed. It's mine to know everything that there is to know about those with fey blood." You are the Wildlight.
I see.
She says, you and two of your friends, they're known to me.
Okay.
I've brought you here today to offer you a great apology.
Really?
She nods.
And how
Everybody
would you
kind of
want me
gets quiet. Um, they all kind of are looking back and forth at each other. You can tell that she's saying this. It's not often that this happens, just by the looks on everyone's faces.
Okay.
She looks at you. I need to offer you a great apology. Uh, on behalf of our folk, we have
How is it?
wronged you, and you don't even know it yet.
It seems unlikely.
No, I can assure you it is true. She looks down. She starts petting the head of your wolf. She says, how much do you truly know of this dog?
Almost nothing.
She shakes her head. Allow me to tell you a brief tale. It is a tale both joyful and sorrowful at the same time. But perhaps when all is said and done, you will know a bit more of how we have wronged you and what must be done to make affairs correct again.
Okay.
You are still young, and I know that you perhaps do not have as much experience as the rest of us, but what you see around you, she kind of hands up. She goes, "This is a glade of pixies," she says, and she points at the different firefly-looking things that go around. Unfortunately, she says, for better or for worse, our curse as Fae is to be both thoughtful, emotional, and mercurial. Sometimes we do things that just because it stokes our mirth, and we don't consider the consequences of our actions.
Sure.
Allow me to tell you the tale of a particular pixie. Her name was Rhina. Rhina flitted about the woodlands just south of your settlement that men call Caverick's Cove. She flew very close to a den of wargs, and there was a newborn pup that she saw. Rhina was a pixie who was very attracted to beauty and things of purity and things that she found lovely. And she saw the pup, and she thought it was the most beautiful thing she'd ever seen curled up upon itself. So, she sighs a bit, Rhina abducted the pup to keep it with her forever. She brought it forth with sweet treats, meats, from its den, from its mother and father. She took it closer and closer to the settlement that you call Caverick's Cove. Well, Rhina, as she was doing so, was frightened off by a group of hunters from the settlement, men. Not knowing what to do and not being able to take the pup with her, she abandoned it. The men found the pup there, not knowing what it truly was. They thought it might be a wolf, they thought it might be a dog, so they called it a wolf dog. One of them sold it to someone in Caverick's Cove. This, of course, she gestures at your dog right over there, is the pup that you have not named yet. She smiles. And so, as we speak, there's a den of wargs out there, a mother and a father, that are searching desperately for their pup. 30 in all. Now, perhaps you know not the nature of wargs. They're very large, very dangerous, very aggressive creatures, but they're also quite intelligent. Some can even speak the tongue of men. They look for their pup. They look for you. And so, I must tender you a great apology. for we have placed you in grave danger, our kind, though we knew no better. So for Rhina, her sake, I must tender you an apology. Now you are half Fey, so on behalf of your mother, I have brought you here to tell you the truth of the matter.
Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate your honesty.
The pup looks up at you, and she goes, good boy still? Am I a good boy still?
Well, it sounds like you might need to go home.
I don't want to go home. Home is with you.
I think your family is going to disagree with us about that.
And so you see my dilemma. Shala says, the pup is now bonded to you, through magic and through means mundane.
Through what kind of magic?
Your ability to communicate with it.
I see.
It's allowed you to create a bond of friendship that would not normally, bless you, that would not normally be possible. You've bonded far deeper in a very short time than you normally would.
Where are the wards?
In the woods south of Caverick's Cove. But I must warn you, going there is extremely dangerous. The wargs will not want to take their cub by means of peace. And even one warg could kill 10 normal men.
I see.
But it will not be long before the wargs realize that the pup is in Caverick's Cove. If that comes to pass, they will surely move on the town, or the village, I should say, and the lives of everyone within would be forfeit.
Well, that does sound like a problem. So what do you suggest I do about this?
I have no suggestions. I only can offer you an apology. Soon I will return you to your home, to the place that you left. This is not a place for you yet. You'll be here soon enough again. This is only my way of making amends for a wayward soul of my flock. She looks around.
Okay. Well, I'll be, I suppose now, far more cautious about adopting puppies.
What you did was a matter of kindness, and it was to make your soul more complete. You cannot be, you should not, you feel no shame in this. You did what you thought was right, and now the wargs will do what nature feels is right.
It seems unfair that I might have to fight wards, which are the family of my family.
I'll keep you safe, the puppy says, looking up at you.
I think we'll be outnumbered by a very large number.
I'll still fight for you. I'll do whatever I have to do.
Okay.
And
I appreciate that.
And Shala looks over and kind of pets it behind the ear and say, "It's true what they say that we don't deserve them."
Most definitely.
If I were you, she says, I would find a way, perhaps, to let the wargs know of its decision.
Perhaps the same spell that allows me to speak with her now.
I would suggest that these wargs are all so mature that they will understand you just fine. Spell or no spell.
Assuming, of course, that they don't kill me before I have a chance to explain the situation.
That is always a possibility. So,
Yes.
as a way of making my contrition truly known, is my intention to replace you not quite where you left, but to replace you just outside of Caverick's Cove, because whether you know it or not, two members of your fellowship are searching for you. I will place you in a position where they can find you easily, so that you will at least have accompaniment.
But I do have trouble at Caverick's Cove right now.
She kind of smiles to you. She says, I don't think you do.
Okay,
She
very well.
says, in a place such as this, you must understand. The passage at which sands move through the hourglass is different than in a place that you left. You are no longer in the world of men.
Then perhaps one more song would be appropriate before I leave.
I would adore that. She looks over at the musicians. She says, please lead us, Raymar, and we will join you this time.
And I'll do. I'll keep it kind of jazzy where we can follow each other.
Okay. Make me a die roll, please.
10.
Okay. You can begin to play, and everybody starts joining in. A couple people start pulling out pipes, and some lyres, and a couple people are playing percussive instruments, some drums and some sticks. It's actually a really, really. This place has got an otherworldly kind of timeless sensation that only can be described as the world of the Fae. Uh, and the music, as a result of it, has this haunting kind of quality, regardless of the style. That is just, it's so emotional and so kind of central to the soul that it's an experience you'll never forget ever. Every once in a while, your wolf cub kind of joins in and howls up at the in the sky.
Mm.
And Shala looks over at you and she says, we will meet again, and it will be sooner than you think, she says. For I still owe you a boon, I believe. And at the appropriate time, I will ensure that that is repaid. She touches you on the forehead and she says, close your eyes, Rainmar, the wild light. And when you open them, you will return to the place where you belong.
Okay, I reach down and touch my pup just to make
Okay.
sure that she goes with me.
Okay, you do that. You close your eyes, and in a moment, the sensation of her cool fingertips on your forehead fades, and you instantly feel the sensation of that humidity gone. The temperature has dropped about 30 degrees. You sense that it's nighttime still, but the smell around you is totally different. You're definitely back in Raddick.
But I'm outside of
You're outside of
Cameron.
Caverick's Cove. You're in right at the edge of a forest. Okay, that forest that's just the edge of Caverick's Cove. It's a little bit to the west of the South Road
Okay.
that traces the coast. You hear voices as you reappear. You hear, Drindra, we're barking up the wrong tree. I can tell you he's nowhere around here. Merrick, I saw footprints. Please, just follow it, would you? We're barking up the wrong tree, I'm telling you. There's no way he's there. Did you see wolf footprint or dog footprints? No, but I think it had to be him. Oh, so now you're a ranger too. Okay, right. You hear all this conversation going on.
Well, I show myself from around the corner of one of the trees,
Okay, you
and
go
I
ahead.
look up. I look up at the trees, and I said, "Which one of these trees are you barking up specifically?"
She looks up. Rainmar! I can't believe it. He rolls his eyes. She looks over and she goes, 30 gold pieces. He looks over at him. It's like, oh, he reaches into his pocket. We've been looking for you everywhere. Where'd you go?
Everywhere.
Ginny comes walking up to you. She goes, "Are you well? Is everything all right?"
I think it will be.
She nods. "There's a lot that's happened since you left."
Tell me everything.
She nods. "Well, the first thing that happened was after you left," she says, "Arion was able to save Herrick's life. He returned right at the right time, used magic to heal him. But with everything that had happened, the decision was made that we should leave Kaverick's Cove. So everyone got aboard the caravan and started heading to the south. I wish you would have been there yesterday, though." She shakes her head. She says, "Brixton, because we had to pay for the last day of our lodgings over at the inn, they had to put on a show. And without you, oh, Brixton was terrible. He flopped right on his face.
Really?
Oh, he was terrible. They almost booed him off the stage. They were throwing things at him. It was terrible.
Wow.
But Agrias," she says, "you should have seen him. He got in a fight in the middle of the street.
That
Some
seems out of
other
character.
some other elf came to the inn and challenged him to a duel. She was dressed just like him. And they had a sword fight in the middle of the street. And Agrias might have lost, but Herrick shot at her when she wasn't looking, and it allowed Agrias to run her through. I'm not sure Agrias was happy with that, but it saved his life."
Interesting. So, out of curiosity, uh, when exactly was the last time we saw each other?
They had both looked at each other 2 days ago.
I see. Okay.
You lost that much track of time, Ginny says.
You know what? When you're out in the woods playing with your dog,
Merrick just kind of throws his head skyward. He's playing with his dog in the woods. I thought you were in trouble. I thought orcs got you or something.
orcs don't get me. I get orcs.
He kind of nods. He kind of puts up his fist, kind of almost gives you like a fist bump on that. He goes, "That's what I like to hear." Ginny just kind of shakes her head. She goes, "Listen, we've got to catch up with the others, I think. I don't know. Maybe we can maybe we can rent a carriage or something like that to catch up with them. But if we don't hurry, they're going to get too far ahead."
I'm waiting on you guys.
She nods. So I figure we should go back to Kaverick's Cove, and we should get a carriage or something like that, and go follow him that way. What do you think?
How many are there of us which are going to catch up with the caravan?
You're looking at him. Merrick puts it over his shoulder. "We're the ones that volunteered to go get you."
I see. Okay.
Make me a
We-
20-sided, Raymar.
20-sider. You got it. 5.
It occurs to you that your trail, your scent, leading them back to Kaverick's Cove, if those wargs are really on your trail, like the Fae said they were, that might result in a bloodbath.
So, I think I'd rather have horses than a carriage.
Merrick looks up at you. He says, "I want you to look at me for a second." He looks up at you. He comes about maybe a little bit higher than your waist. He goes, "You really think I could ride a horse?" He looks over at Ginny. He goes, "Come on now."
I honestly put nothing past you.
He
Here's
says
what
no. He goes, "Dwarves ride. We drive mules at best."
Here's what I'd like you guys to do. I give them some gold pieces to work with. I'd like you guys to go into town, secure the carriage, and I'll meet you on the path ahead.
Ginny looks over at him. "I'll hold the gold." She looks over at Merrick. Merrick just kind of grumbles. Ginny goes, "You're not going to go anywhere, are you?"
I'm going to go ahead on the path toward the caravan.
"All right," she says. Don't make yourself so scarce this time. I don't know. We were lucky to find you."
Well, I've been training as an expert thief acrobat.
She looks at you like he's kidding, right? Merrick just takes it at face value. Oh, all right.
Well, how else do you explain that I disappeared for 2 days and you guys couldn't find me?
Well, honestly, I thought you were a ranger like your buddy. She, I mean,
No, no.
you hang out in the woods all the time. You're a half elf. You, you shoot bows and arrows. I mean, aren't you guys all like kind of the same?
Yeah, we're pretty much all identical. So try not to lose me this time. I'll be on the path headed toward the caravan.
She says, "Okay, we'll do that." So she turns around with Merrick. She goes, Merrick's like, you hear on the way back, I still want those 30 gold pieces. I'm not giving you 30 gold pieces. We got lucky. Did you know he was an acrobat? You hear the last thing you hear as they walk away.
To be clear, guys, I found you. You didn't find me.
Yeah. Whatever, acrobat.
Maybe I should get the 30 gold pieces.
I'll put 30 gold pieces somewhere. Here as they walk away.
Challenge accepted. So I start making my way toward the caravan, the course for the caravan.
Okay, your wolf kind of lopes alongside of you, looks at you. She looks at you, she says, "What do wargs look like?"
I imagine they look something like you.
Oh, so they're like dogs.
I think they're like wargs.
Well, what's the difference between a dog and a warg?
You've never seen a dog before?
Only the ones that used to bark at me and try to attack me when we were with my other master.
Yeah, those are dogs.
Okay, so those are wargs too.
Let's just make our way to the path.
Well, I need to know so I know how to protect you. I'm smelling for wargs right now, but if I smell wargs, how will I know they're wargs?
Well, you probably won't. And I've never seen a warg before in my life.
This is bad.
Agreed. How about you scout ahead about 50 feet?
Okay. Wolf Cub kind of starts walk up ahead about 50 feet. No wargs yet.
That's good. I want you to try to find the caravan.
So I should smell for our friends.
That would be fantastic.
Okay, I'll do that. Start smelling ahead. Smelling the ground, smelling the air a little bit. No sign of them either yet. Looking around. It's kind of just scouting around. It's occurring to you that this dog or warg cub is probably literally maybe a week and a half old.
Okay.
To be this size right now, they could be mistaken for a dog. It is really, really young. And as that occurs to you, it also occurs to you why it acts the way it does. It's so young.
Yeah, she's
its intelligence hasn't developed really all that much yet. It's still learning about the world.
Right. She's a little puppy.
Yeah, she is really a little puppy. But she's going to grow real big. Real big.
Well, she can go from familiar to mount eventually.
Yeah, goblins and things like that do ride wargs. And you being a half-elf,
right?
Eventually, if she gets that big, you might be able to. But anyway, that's enough. That's for later days. Gotcha. Anyway, you begin towards the highway. You finally reach the highway, and when you do, you're about 100 yards from it. Your dog is already there, and she's sitting on the highway, looking back at you, all stiffed up and proud. I smell them. I smell them. There's Tracks right here in the road. They've been here.
Okay. Nice work. Here, have a treat.
Oh, I'm starving. Thank you. I'm really really hungry.
Yeah, I'm sure you are. We got to make sure you grow up big and strong,
Uh huh. How do I do that?
by eating as much as possible.
Oh, I like that. I love eating. Eating is like the best. Well, second best because you're the best, but it's second best.
That's true. That's true. And I'm glad you recognize that. That's important.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Here, have another little bit of this jerky here.
Oh, tearing into it. As tearing into it, more and more as you just watch the mannerisms, you're like, oh my god, this thing really is gonna be a monstrous creature one day.
Hey,
This is
she
going to be the Fenris wolf one day.
she is precious. Okay. And frankly, in my opinion, so is Fenris. But that's
Okay. It's probably about 3 hours later. You're waiting around, kind of just looking at the looking out at the sea from where you are from the road, looking at the woods. Um, the spell wears off between that allows you to communicate directly. So uh, after about an hour, blissfully, she stops asking you questions constantly, uh, and it is a barrage of questions. Like, what's
okay.
in there? Looking at the water. Well, how deep is it? How far does it go? Can I swim in it? Can you swim in it? Things like that. I mean, just barrage of questions. It's like having a toddler, really.
Right, right.
Um, and cultivating its intelligence. I mean,
Sure,
is what it's doing, trying to figure
sure.
out the world around it. Well, that ends in about an hour, but it occurs to you that it might be something you have to do, though. You have to keep doing that in order to raise it right. Otherwise, it's gonna be pretty stupid. It's just gonna be like a normal dog.
Sure, sure.
But soon enough, Merrick and Ginny come out, and there's a driver that's actually driving them in the carriage.
Okay.
Driver kind of pulls up about maybe 100 feet from where you are. He goes, "You Rainmar?" And you hear from the carriage. Ginny sticks her head out. She goes, "That's him. That's him. Come aboard." Goes, "My name's Nelson." Looks over at you and goes, "I'm here to pick you up."
Hello, Nelson.
Nods. See you got a dog with you.
Yeah, just a puppy, really.
Oh, all right. Bring her on.
Okay, we jump in.
You jump in. Merrick and Ginny are there. This carriage that you're in is like one of those really nice plush cushioned carriages inside. That's like it looks like it for a lady's finery or something like that, like
Sure.
a wedding or something. There's
Right,
all
right.
kinds of lace curtains inside of it. Ginny just shakes her head. She goes, "Don't even ask. It was all we could find."
And it's I'm assuming it's not very well fortified because of
Not
what.
at all. Not at all. The walls are like paper mache, basically.
Okay.
Merrick's like, "You should have seen what it was like trying to convince them to get aboard with our weapons."
Uh, so Nelson, can we pick up the pace here?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Ha! Kind of snaps the reins, and you start going faster. He looks over. Ginny looks over at you. She's like, "We're probably a good ways behind them right now. Um, at least a day's ride," she says. So, kind of shakes her head. I don't know what to tell you besides that.
Well,
Raymar, I should say. Merrick's like, "Well, don't worry about it." He goes, "I brought some good grog." Reaches over on the side. He's got a big, looks like a wooden mug over on his side. Puts it down. He's got a small cask over there. Starts pouring it in there. You can smell it. As soon as he pours it in there, how strong it is. Your
okay.
wolf kind of wrinkles up her nose a little bit. He's pouring it in. The thing starts swilling out of it. He's like, Well, he says, looks over at you. I basically know nothing about you. Want to tell me who I'm riding with? Who I wasted a day of my time and lost 30 gold pieces to pick up?
So, do you really perceive that I'm responsible for your loss of 30 gold pieces?
No, he goes, no, that was my fault, but I got to blame it on somebody, and you're elected.
Got it.
He goes, he looks over, he goes, I can't give her the satisfaction of knowing she won fair and square. Ginny just kind of grins.
I will happily take the blame. I think it's important.
Hands over the mug to you. Looks over at you. So where are you from, Rainmar? The Wild Light. And how the hell did you get a nickname like the Wild Light?
I was, well,
Ginny, remember, there's 15 silver on this.
do you have 15 silver bet on where I got my name?
Yep, they both say it at the same time.
I'm curious what the two of you came up with.
Nope. Gee, he says, I don't want any bias involved in this. For all I know, you rigged this, he points at Ginny. How would I rig this?
Well, suffice to say, it was a woman who gave me that name.
Yes, Ginny kind of knows for it. He goes, I am not liking the way this is going. And could you explain to me a little bit about how this came about? She looks over at Merrick.
Well, I was deep in orc territory.
They both kind of sit up at the edge of their seat, looking at you.
With a company that was attempting to solve an orc problem, if you know what I mean.
The only way orc problems should be solved, I trust. He kind of pats his axe.
We did have sort of a singular methodology to our approach, I will admit that.
I like it. Keep talking.
Our foreman was a brilliant but not very creative man.
He nods.
He's no longer with us.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
However, his second in command was a spectacular woman who I became rather fond of.
Ginny's like, I knew it. Keep talking.
And she gave me this nickname.
The Wild Light. Wild how, then, Ginny says. Then looks over at Merrick.
I do believe the nature of your question is inappropriate.
Ha! 15 silver, she says. He's like, he just kind of rolls his eyes. I cannot believe you guessed that. He grabs his mug. He's like, I'm going to lose my shirt at this rate. And takes a big thing of grog. Hands you the mug.
For what it's worth, I don't think either of us would fit into your shirt.
Ha! Yeah, it doesn't mean Ginny wouldn't take it. Here's your 15 silver. Throws it at her. He goes, he throws her the silver, and she kind of grabs, she grabs the thing, and she goes, there's 14 here. And she does it without even counting.
Can I roll to catch the 15th piece when he throws it?
Sure. Make me a die roll.
15.
Scoop it out of midair. Ginny looks at you. She's like, I think you have something that's mine.
It's strange, but it seems like it's my silver piece.
She's like, he kind of looks at you a little askance. She goes, you can keep it.
Are you sure?
Oh, I'm sure.
You're giving me permission to keep something that's already mine?
She laughs a little bit. Merrick's like, you know, you're not too bad for a half-elf. I'll give you that. He's drinking out of his mug.
You don't give me anything, my friend. I take it.
All right. So since it's story time, I guess we owe you one too.
I wish you would. It's a long ride ahead.
He goes, me and Ginny are twins. We're from Mountain south here. Orc territory, like you know. Sure. Well, you know about the unpleasantness that happened in the Bone March. A lot of people displaced during the war. A lot of clans wiped out. Ours was one of those clans. We were sent up here. We were pretty young by our mother and father. Was no place for children. Really haven't seen them since. But pretty much think you can expect the worst, considering what happened in that region.
Sure.
Jin over here looks over at her, whose actual name is Jennifer. He kind of looks at her. But she goes by Ginny because, well, we grew up around a lot of humans. And she goes, and I like humans and elves, she says. I think you guys are fascinating. Especially humans. Humans and half-elves, your lives are so short. And you're so busy. You do so much. You're always up to something. I think that's fascinating. You're very full of energy in life. I think that's neat. I've never seen anything quite like it before. I think it's kind of dumb. Merrick says it kind of drinks his grog, but it is what it is. I don't have any cool stories or any cool nicknames to share with you, but I do have something in common with you. I fucking hate orcs. He goes, they killed our family, killed our clansmen, killed our kin. And one day, when Ginny and I are tough enough, after traveling with you, goes back, he goes, I plan on returning the favor. Pours some more grog in there. Hands it over to Ginny. Ginny swills it. Merrick and I are kind of like two sides of a coin, she says.
A silver coin?
A silver coin. Your silver coin.
Understood.
She says. Merrick wants revenge. I think this is an opportunity to start new. In a different place, different people, different life. I think that's what our mother and father wanted for us. How can you say that? Merrick says. Our mother and father are dead. You don't know that. And they wanted to send us away so we didn't necessarily throw our lives away in the mountains against orcs that outnumber us 10,000 to 2. We're dwarves. We know what we have to do. Just like what Rainmar said. Look, Rainmar wasn't scared of those orcs. He went in the mountains with that company of people. He fought them. He nods. He goes, can you do any less? A half-elf out there fighting a fight that wasn't even his, just because he's a radic patriot. And you, as a dwarf, don't tell me what my responsibilities are. I've got the same blood in my veins that you do. She goes, yes, Raymar fought for us, and he should be lauded for it, okay? But that doesn't necessarily mean that we should do the same. We should be smart about this. Maybe what Destiny's done is it's brought us all together so we can all do it. Rainmar obviously hates orcs too. All right? We need to move on. We can't be prisoners of our past. Yeah, but we can't forget it either. Barrick drinks. Looks over at you. What do you make of this? Wild
First
White.
of all, I just have to say that the metagame of this is hilarious because of how much I love orcs. So this conversation is hilarious. Okay. Back to the game.
Right.
Yeah, I think everybody has to do what suits them.
Okay.
I don't think we can be a servant of circumstances.
You say that, and you kind of look down, and your wolf cub, all of a sudden, her ears kind of perk up.
I immediately draw my bow.
What's going on? What's going on?
I'm not
Merrick's
sure
got his hand on his axe. In the distance, you hear a howling. You hear a knock on the top of the carriage from the driver.
Okay, I want
He
to go
goes, "You
on
all
record.
right down there?"
I, I want to go on record as saying that if I get killed by a warg, I'm kicking your ass at Gary Con. It's just, or no, game holes first.
That's right. I'll have your brother back me up.
I'm pretty sure my brother's backing me up. Okay, but all right. Okay, check it out.
He looks over. There's a knock on the roof. He goes, you hear the driver. He goes, "You all right down there?"
You hear howling?
Yeah, definitely. He goes, "There's some wolves out there." He goes, "It's starting to get dark." He goes, "I think we should bunk out for the night."
Pick up the pace.
Kind of quiet for a second. He goes, "All right, but it'll cost you. I'll pay it." You hear Ginny say, "I just got 14 new silver pieces anyway."
I got a silver piece I can throw at that.
All right, he goes, "We'll pick up the pace." He goes, "But I doubt we're going to be able to outrun them." He kind of just goes, he goes, "But it's just wolves." He goes, "Not, they probably won't even, if I have to, I'll light a torch, they'll stay away."
I don't think. Okay. Uh, can
Merrick
I
kind of
run
looks
on
at
top?
you, he looks over at you, kind of smiles. He kind of points down at your cub. He says, "Looks like we got," he goes, "I wouldn't worry about it too much." He goes, "We got our own dog down here." Smiles.
That's true.
Ginny goes, have you even named her yet? It's a her, right? How do you know it's a her? Looks like a boy to me. 5 silver on it. 5 silver then.
I think it's a worthwhile bet.
Well, what is it? He looks over at you.
Well, did you bet 5 silver on it?
Yeah, I just took it. What do you have?
What do I have? I mean,
What is she? Do I have to? What is he? Do I have to look?
she's right there.
Ha! I knew it. Give me those 5 silver. He reaches into his pocket, tosses 5 silver at her.
16.
You swipe one out of midair. She looks at you like you had nothing to do with. Well, I guess you did.
I'm liking this trip already. I'm 2 silver up, and we're only a couple hours in.
Right, now I'm 20 down. God forbid we play cards.
Do you play cards?
Oh, I play cards. He nods. Ginny's like, actually, he plays cards pretty well.
Oh, well, you shouldn't have told me that. So, uh, just a quick bit about the periphery. So the carriage itself is not very well fortified. Is there a portal to get onto the roof?
There is a portal to get on the roof.
I'm going to get onto the roof.
Where are you going? Merrick says. He's obviously going on the roof, but it's why.
Give me just a second. I want to see how far out those wolves are, if I can tell.
Why are you worried about a few wolves? You're the driver. We'll just light a couple torches. They're afraid of fire. They'll stay away. You get up on the roof, and the driver's there. Nelson kind of looks back at you. He goes, "Oh, keeping me some company?"
How far out do you think those wolves are?
What you see it from your point is the road is raised a little bit. It slopes off onto the level ground about maybe 1.5 feet here. To the You're going south right now. Okay, so to your left, you see the wide open ocean about 100 feet. It has a small beach there. It's crashing. It's coming on night, like he said. It looks like it might be raining soon too. About 300 yards to your right, there's open field and then dark, the silhouette of dark forestry. You're guessing, basing on the howling that you're hearing, that they are at the edge of the woods, kind of following your pace.
They're at the edge of the woods following us.
Kind of following you. Now, make me a 20-sider.
13.
Because of the other half of your heritage, you are aware of what they're doing. They're waiting for you to get tired.
Okay.
They're waiting for the horses to get tired.
Hey, Nelson, I want you to, in the next few minutes, try to find us a place where we can comfortably camp for the night.
Will do. He nods. He says, so I guess the extra money's off then.
Now the extra money remains as long as we make it through the night.
He has a crossbow in his hand. He kind of pulls it up. He goes, I'll make sure of that.
Okay.
Okay, so you go back down?
I drop back down into the carriage.
What was that all about, Merrick says.
We're being followed by those wolves, and they're closer than they should be.
So what? Bunch of wolves. He goes, three of us, we should be able to handle that. Knock off a couple of them, and the rest of them will scatter. Especially, tell you what, he goes, I got a couple flasks of oil, light it on fire. What's the big
We're going to
deal?
set up camp.
What? I thought we were rolling.
We are going to roll for a little while longer, but I've got Nelson looking for a nice spot to put the carriage.
All right. What changed your mind?
The fact
Ginny
that
is
we're
just
being
sitting
hunted-
back, and she's looking at you really closely right now.
Who is?
Ginny is.
Okay.
Ginny is obviously a lot smarter than Merrick is, a little more insightful. You can tell she realizes that something isn't quite right now.
Here's what I can tell the two of you, is that I prefer to be the hunter, not the hunted.
Ginny looks at you and she goes, those aren't wolves, are they?
I don't think so. I
What
think
are
the
they?
course that these wolves are taking denotes intelligence far beyond the average wolf.
Gnolls, she says.
Maybe.
No, they don't sound like that. Oh no. Her eyes kind of get wide. You don't think they're wargs, do you?
I think it's possible.
Oh no. Merrick gets really quiet for a second. Orcs ride wargs into battle. He goes, do you think it's an orcish raiding party coming up from the mountains?
No,
What makes you think that?
they're moving too fast. They're not carrying any load, I don't think.
She nods. She goes, right, and they're also going through the woods right now. She goes, if they're going that fast with riders on top of it, no way they'd catch us.
No
Merrick
way.
nods. Merrick nods. That makes sense. If that's wargs, then we're in trouble.
Agreed.
We're in real trouble. What do you suggest we do? He looks over at you.
I suggest we start hunting instead of being hunted.
He nods. If that's a pack of wargs and it's substantial, there's no way we'll fight them. He goes, we'll get murdered.
And what happens if the horses get tired and we have to stop anyway?
He's got a point, Ginny says.
You want to fight them fresh, or you want to fight them when you're tired?
What I want a tactical advantage. He says, maybe the water. We use that to our advantage, maybe?
Yeah, probably.
He thinks about it for a second. Well, we've got two advantages right now. He goes, we've got height on top of the carriage.
Yep.
Got a little bit of a defensive position. We use it as cover. We've got missile weapons.
Yep.
Thanks. We've got the water. What do you think about the possibility of us making like a raft or something?
Sure, if you want.
Merrick, be serious. What do you know about the water? Have you ever even actually been on a boat? Well, no, but it doesn't look that hard. I mean, you see it in books all the time. You get on
That isn't important. What's important is that Nelson has ever been on a boat.
She looks over at you. Maybe this is a relevant question to ask.
Why don't you do that?
She starts kind of clambering up. She's very short, so it takes her a while to get up through the top of her damn thing. I told you need to lose some weight. You're getting fat. Shut up. Starts climbing through there. He looks over at you, kind of just chuckles, and goes, "She's so easy." You hear a little muted conversation on the roof. Okay, story time again. How'd you know? You've been acting funny for the last hour. Like you expected this.
Oh, it's just the slightest possibility that I know more about wargs than I really want to.
Hmm. Fought him in the mountains, huh? Nods.
No, no, not so much that. It's just that we're actually in a carriage with a warg right now.
What? He looks down. The pup looks up and that's not a warg. He goes, a warg is taller than you.
That's a warg puppy.
A newborn. Oh my! By Moradin's beard! What in the world are we doing with this? They're following it.
That's true.
Throw it out! Just throw it out!
And what do you think she would do if we threw her out?
Ginny's climbing back down. Ginny, get your fat ass down here. We've got a situation. I'm not fat. She drops down into the thing. She goes, we've got another situation too. Nelson doesn't know anything about the water, and even if he did, he's asking me what we would do to make a raft. He's worried that we're gonna friggin' chop up his carriage and use it as a raft right now. Well, that's what I was thinking. No, we've got a problem. That thing's a warg. He points over at the dog. She looks at you, looks down at the puppy. Are you being entirely serious right now?
I'm being entirely serious right now.
They're following the puppy's scent. That's not a warg. She goes, it's a newborn. Like a couple days old, probably.
Not weeks, but yeah.
Oh, no. She just looks at the top of the thing. We're going to all die tonight. That's why you've been acting so weird. You knew. You knew this whole time.
I had a theory.
And now it all makes sense. That's why you didn't want to go back to Caverick's Cove. You knew they'd follow us.
I had a theory that they would follow us.
What are we doing? What are we going to do? They're waiting.
Well,
They're going to come here.
that is likely.
And when they come here, we're probably all going to die.
Also a possibility.
I'm for chopping up the carriage now. Call me on team chopping up the carriage.
Okay, well, if you can convince Nelson.
I'll convince him at Axe Point if I have to. They won't come into the water. Okay, it's my turn now. Ginny, what the hell do you know about being in the water? Nothing, but maybe Raymar does. Raymar, do you know anything about boats?
Not
This
really.
is terrible. This is terrible.
I've been on boats.
That's more than us. Dwarves and water don't really mix.
Yeah. Well,
Heavy chainmail, you know? Sink like a rock. Yeah, especially with that fat ass of yours.
I don't know
Oh,
if
this
you've
is
noticed,
not the
but
time, Merrick.
the warg is the puppy is armored too, so that yeah.
I see that. It's cute. It's adorable. You know he's going to outgrow it in like a week, right?
Yeah.
Now I know why he eats so much. Oh, it's all making sense. This is terrible. This is like the worst day ever. Okay, second worst day.
What was your worst day? What day was worse than this?
Mom and Dad, when they said goodbye.
Okay, well, this isn't that bad.
No, this is not that bad. But it's a close second. We need a plan.
Well, I sort of have one.
Okay? Tell me.
I'm gonna talk to the wargs.
You're gonna what? That's a death sentence, and you know that.
Maybe. But she's made her decision that she wants to stay with me. As you can see.
That's a terrible idea.
You have a better one?
No. Well, I could say this. If he goes out there and talks to the wargs with the puppy, and they tear him limb from limb, we ride off. Looks over it. We are not doing that. You and I are going with him out there. Now that's a terrible idea. He points at his sister. No.
Actually, I think what I would prefer is that you guys were atop the carriage with a little bit of missile weapon advantage.
Ginny says, that's not going to happen. We're traveling companions. I'm a dwarf, she goes. I've got more honor than that. My axe is at your side. I volunteer to stay on the roof, Merrick says.
This is not about honor. It's about tactics. I would prefer that the conversation between me and the massive canines takes place just me, the pup, and her family.
At the first sign of trouble, I'm lobbing flaming oil.
I think you should.
That's a good idea. I'll get the oil
I'll tell you
ready
what,
too.
If you successfully defend us from these wargs, I'll give you 2 silver pieces for your trouble.
She just shakes her head. Merrick just starts laughing. He goes, yeah, I guess we could just take it off your corpse too at the end of this. What? Nobody think that's funny?
Also a strong possibility.
Ginny is just like, this is terrible. This is like, why are we slowing down? They feel I think I got a spot. The wolves howl in the background.
Okay.
They sound pretty close, he says, but I think I'm just going to set up a couple torches outside and, just to let them know who's boss. Oh, that'll stop him. Jenny whispers over to you. He has no idea yet.
No, he doesn't.
No, and he's not gonna either, Merrick says.
I don't think it's prudent.
Well, he's gonna figure out something's up when you walk off. No, we're gonna tell him that our friend is a ranger. He's going into the woods. He's gonna forage for some food. Merrick kind of says, listen, once you get about 100 yards away from us, there's no way we're going to be able to throw oil that far. You're on your own once you get that far.
I wasn't intending to get that far.
They're going to come to us.
Well, I would think so. They're already chasing us.
You're going to let them get that close.
Do you think we have a lot of other options?
Well, at least they'll be in flaming oil range. I think Nelson's in for a real big surprise. He says and looks over at you. He's gonna want more money. Well, maybe if we live through this, maybe I'll give it to him. He looks over at you. I'll tell you what, he goes, for a half elf, you got a lot of balls.
Well, thank you. Thank you for noticing.
He goes, and I gotta say, when all this is over, he goes, you and me are gonna drink some of this grog because you fought for our folk in the mountains. He goes, you can handle this business out here. I think that's almost honorary dwarf material. Not quite, but almost.
It's what I've always wanted.
Yeah. Well, it's what you should aspire to. Ginny's like, ignore him. Just be safe out there, would you? Carriage is stopped. Horses are going to feed the horses. He goes, you hear Nelson say through the roof, Guys get comfortable down there. Goes the seats. He goes, they can pull out and they can be connected into a bed. He goes, it's part of the wedding services. Guys can get comfortable in there. It's usually not made for three, but you guys are, a couple of you are pretty small. No offense. Jenny just rolls her eyes. Hey, if it's all the same, I think we're going to hang out up top and get some night air with you, Nellie. What do you think? Suits me. Says, I'm just going to sleep up here. Mayor kind of looks over, opens the door, looks at you. He goes, do your thing.
Will do. So I step out of the carriage.
These are wargs, Ginny says to you as you step out. He goes, they're going to wait until it's really dark.
Yeah.
So just be ready.
Okay.
Okay. So they get up top, on top of the carriage. They start talking now. So, Nellie, tell me your story. You hear Eric say as you start walking out. What do you mean, tell me your story? Oh, where are you from? What are you about? You know, I'm always fascinated by humans. Tell me your story. Well, you hear as you start walking out with the puppy.
Sure. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna do.
Where's your friend going? Oh, you know, these ranger types. He's just going to go look for some berries and some fruits for us, you know. Go into the woods, maybe. Oh, all right. I didn't know he was a ranger. You hear just conversations. You start walking away from the thing.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
My first act is to approximate a howl.
Okay. You start to
And
howl. As soon as you
try
do
to.
that, the puppy gets back, leads back, and howls as well. Instantly, all throughout the edge of the woods, you hear 20, 30 wargs howl. This is going to be this is going to be a massive amount of wargs, you think,
Okay.
howling everywhere throughout the woods.
So I let off another howl.
Another howl. The puppy gets back, howls again. It sniffs the air and looks at you like it wants to say something, but you don't have the spell, so.
There's that.
Uh-huh. It's looking at you like it's waiting for you to say something back.
Great. That's efficient. I'm really digging that spell.
So she looks back at you, and when you don't say anything, she just howls again. The night goes on. Maybe a couple hours pass. Darkness ensconces the area. All you can hear is the sea crashing behind you, the wind. It starts to rain outside a little bit. And as the rain comes, your infravision in the distance is picking up movement out of the woods.
Okay.
It's happening.
Okay.
Silhouettes are starting to come out. These things are almost the size of ponies, all of them. I mean, they're big. They're big. And they're coming out of the woods. 30 of them in mass, led by one that's as big as a full-grown horse.
Okay.
They start to stalk closer and closer. You almost feel the blood pulsing in your ears right now. I mean, the puppy howls up in the air again. They howl, and when they howl, they're probably only 100 yards away in the distance. The silhouettes are coming closer. And finally, the first one, the alpha of the pack, the biggest one, has come closer and closer. You can see it creeping towards you.
I let out another howl.
Uh-huh. I see you speak our language, it says. I can speak yours too.
I'm not sure that language you're speaking is mine.
Hmm. I wondered. It seems we share another common tongue, then. It smiles. We've come a long way for you. Your friend told us exactly where to be. It's good to see that he wasn't lying.
Which friend are we talking about?
The one with the dark skin.
Ah, okay.
The masked one. It said that you would be coming. Said.
I'm right here.
He'll be coming shortly too, I suspect. There may be nothing here, though, soon.
I
The
see.
other alpha. You have something that belongs to us. The other wolf comes over. Looks like his mate. Kind of looks and starts sniffing at the puppy. Nuzzles its face. It kind of pulls its face back. She looks up at you and she goes, "What did you do to my child?"
I did nothing to your child.
Have you turned our child against me? You hear a growling from inside of the murmuring. They're starting to circle you, all of them.
My my approach to this is really not one of fear because I'm approaching this with a little bit of a fondness for these monsters, you know.
Uh-huh.
And I guess what I want to convey is that I didn't abscond with this wolf cub, this ward cub. That I wasn't part of that.
You are no thief, you say. Yet here
Well,
you are with our cub. Are you suggesting that she walked away from our den?
I'm suggesting that she was stolen by someone else.
And yet you have her. Does that not make you part of the theft?
It doesn't make me any more part of the theft than the person that bought her from the person that stole her.
Then you'll be giving her back. To
I'm
show your good faith, because you are not a thief. Is that what I'm to understand?
Well, I can't return this cub to you because I do not own this cub. She is free to go wherever she wants.
Indeed, she is. Looks over at the cub. Kind of walks over and starts to nuzzle her face. Cub kind of reaches up and tries to scratch the face of her father. The alpha kind of pulls back and growls menacingly. The wolf cub gets in between you and and the alpha, and just stares it down directly in the face with those green foxfire eyes of hers. Just stares it right down in the face.
It seems we have some things to talk about.
You will speak, and quickly.
Well, what is it that you think we need to speak of? I think she's made her decision clear, don't you?
The alpha growls and kind of shoves her away and walks up to you. Gets real close. It's hovering. Its muzzle is looking down at you, hovering over you. Drool starting to come out of the corner of its fanged mouth.
And as it walks toward me, I also walk toward it to cut the distance in half.
Uh-huh. The wolf cub lunges at its neck. And the warg easily bats it aside.
Okay.
You have taught it to hate our kind. You have taught it to hate its mother and father. What have you done to our child?
Actually, I haven't taught your daughter anything. Whatever she learned from being lost and abandoned.
Abandoned? You
Abandoned by her
stolen. And the mother looks over and says, she is being a warg. Look how she defends her pack. This is not her pack. It may be now. It looks over at you and says, is this so? Are you her pack now? Are you her alpha? The little warg kind of, it looks a little bit shaken up by the tumble it took, but yet it walks right back up and starts to try and interpose itself between you and the alpha.
Is the armor doing anything? Either?
Yeah, it's probably saved its life twice now.
Okay. Okay.
Because this thing was not being gentle when it knocked it away.
Right. Okay.
It walks closer and closer until you can actually feel the heat of its breath on you. Is this so? Are you its pack now?
How would I know if it were true?
Has she chosen you over us?
I'm not certain. I've heard much of the intelligence of wargs.
What is it wearing?
When I rescued your daughter from where she was being kept, I didn't know she was a warg. I thought she was a dog.
She looks at you and she looks at the puppy and looks over at her mate. And she goes, look, my mate. It is clad in the same armor as he wears, the skin of an animal. They wear the same armor. It is clear they are packmates now. They're clad in the skins of animals. You should respect their dominance at least. I respect nothing of a thief. Look at the way she protects him.
I said I wasn't a thief.
And you think I believe the word of a man? He's no man. Smell him. He's our kin. He leans forward. He pulls his nose back a bit. What blood pumps through your veins that you possess such a smell?
I know almost nothing of my ancestry.
You are born of wolf and of elf. Smells you again. Through your veins pumps the blood of what they call gnolls. Not quite wargs, not quite wolf. Something else, but our kin nonetheless.
I don't know if this is true.
It is so. You have my word on this. I smell it in you.
And
This
why should I?
changes things slightly. This changes my opinion slightly.
Only slightly.
Yes. In that before I had no respect for you, but now I have some.
I see. And for her?
Looks down at you. You must be a mighty packmate for her to have chosen you. Or you have shown her great kindness, one of the two. mother kind of comes up and tries to nuzzle it again. This time, the cub lets it a little bit. Looks down at you. She will not walk with us willingly again, will she?
I don't know.
He looks over at you. He says, I know. Kind of sighs a bit. You are fortunate in that you are one of us after a fashion. Because of this, I will allow you to begin your own pack with our daughter as one of your own. You should know that I will watch you. You will treat our daughter with respect. You will allow her to hunt and to grow strong and mighty. And I will allow you to live. Do we have a bargain?
I suppose.
He nods. Smells the wolf one more time. She starts to growl up at him. He kind of smirks a little. He goes, You are doing well so far. Look how fierce she is already.
What's your name?
I am proud after a fashion. Sagar, he whispers. He looks down at her. So angry, so violent. Delicious, he smells her again.
Well, Sagar, I would say that we are now kin after a fashion.
In bloodline as well as lineage, it seems.
Indeed.
Begin your own pack, Alpha, he says. I await to see how mighty you become in the future. Know that I watch you.
And Sagar, one more thing.
He looks at you.
If you ever need anything from me or from your daughter, you come find us.
He nods. I do not expect such things from men. But you are different. It nods. In our time of need I will come, and in your time of need you will come to us. We do
I
not
will.
turn our back on our pack so easily. Looks around, looks over down at his thing, at his daughter, and says, Teach her well. Teach her the language of our kind, so that she, next time we speak, she may look at me and tell me of her great deeds. She will tell me how the day that I dared step towards her master, that she would rip my throat out. Would she could. Looks over at his mate. Say farewell to your daughter for now. We will leave in peace.
We'll see
Mother
you again.
kind of comes over and starts sniffing at her. Kind of nuzzles her face. Growls somewhat. The wargs look at you and nod. Your name is Karas.
Karas.
She says, I do not know what you are called in the world of men, but now you have a name in the world of wargs.
Thank you.
Turns around. He starts to walk, and the other wolves start to walk as well, back towards the woods, until they slowly disappear one by one. And the little warg, kind of looks at him and watches them all walk away. But as they disappear, she looks back up at you, then looks back at the woods, and then lets out another long howl into the night. Kind of disappears into the wind and the rain.
I follow suit.
Eventually, you guys turn around and you walk back to the carriage. And as you walk back to the carriage, Merrick and Janie are standing on top. They've got flaming oil flasks ready as you come closer. Nelson's sitting there with his crossbow. It's like, what in the hell were you doing out there? Merrick says. All I could do was hear you howling out there like a wolf.
Well,
Obviously, he's okay, Nelson says. Told you it was just a bunch of wolves.
Indeed.
Just a bunch of wolves, James says.
Just a bunch of wolves.
And that's where we're going to cut for the night. What'd you think, buddy? You have fun?
Fantastic.
That was badass, I thought. I thought that went really, really well.
Yeah, that was good.
That was a nice denouement to the way that... So, to give you a little bit of a recap, for those of you out there in Twitch land that didn't see our last episode, what happened was the wargs smelled... He was still in Fairyland with his friends, so he was actually off the prime material plane for a moment. So the wargs couldn't smell him and his cub. So they went to where the trail that they smelled, which was they knew that he'd been with those other guys so long, they bore his smell. So they followed the caravan, and they approached the caravan and accosted them, saying, "Give us back our child." Well, David Aho, Arion, went to them and brokered a peace and said, "Hey, listen, we don't have him. Our buddy has him. Okay, great, we'll go get him." And as they left, Arion was horrified, thinking to himself, either I've just doomed Caverick's Cove, where he still might be, or I've doomed my friend. I don't know what I'm going to do. So when that mission ended, they all looked at Arion and said, what should we... They all looked at Agrias and said, what should we do? Do we go back and get Rainmar? Do we go back to Caverick's Cove? What do we do? They have no idea what the situation was.
Right.
So now you reappear out of Fairyland, time being different. You're with the rest of the group. They find the smell almost instantly, followed you, and then that all took place.
Right.
So now a lot of shit has happened here because you're now in touch a little bit with your heritage.
Right.
Which your character knew you were weird, but now you realize exactly what the deal really truly is here.
How weird you really are,
Yeah, I mean, you still don't know the exact whole of it, but you know a lot more than you knew before, and that will open up a whole new world of role playing for your character. And in the meantime, you've gained a warg name, which means that you're respected in that community. You're worth having a name.
Right.
They don't give names to deer or humans. You're just a man.
Right.
That you're prey. You're not prey anymore. You're actually a warg in their minds.
Right.
So you're allowed to start your own pack. This is a big, big, big deal right now for your character. This is huge. So, and your cub now, you've been given a mandate, to raise her into being a powerful warg. You're going to have to learn how to speak warg, so you can teach her how to speak warg. I mean, there's a lot going on here, man.
For sure.
And what do you think the easiest way to learn how to speak warg is? There's a certain class I know out there that has the ability to speak a lot of other languages. What is that class?
I think it's Is it Bard?
I think that's the one. So now you see how we're all tying everything together with
Right,
your background.
right,
So
right, right.
part of my whole macro story has now taken root in this adventure, and I hope you enjoyed it, man.
Yeah, very cool, man. Thank you.
Cool. All right, there, everybody in Twitch land. I hope you had a nice evening here with Raymar the Wildlight. You've learned all a lot about his character. You've learned a lot about how the story is played out with the wargs.
Hmm.
For those of you in the group who have actually watched this episode, he lived, and you've learned a little bit more about Merrick and Ginny. And this has been a really awesome session. We've learned a lot about the characters. A lot of personal story has come to its fruition.
For sure.
And I hope you guys tune in next week where the whole, or tomorrow, I should say, tomorrow night, when the whole group will get back together and everybody can figure out exactly what they're going to tell each other about their histories, their past, what they've learned. And it should be interesting, to say the least, how everything works going forward.
No
I'm going to
doubt.
sign off for the evening right now. Jeremy's going to sign off. Jeremy, stick around for a little bit time. We'll talk over here on Zoom for a second after we're done. Again, everyone, thanks so much for tuning in. It's great that we could do this for the audience, and it's great that we could have such an amazing session like tonight that everybody could enjoy. Signing off. Have a good evening, everybody. I'll see you tomorrow.